What's going on, guys? Drewzy here, back again with another South Park Phone Destroyer video, guys, and another top 10 breakdown video, this time talking about epic cards. As there are a plethora of epic cards within the game, and there are 10 that I've pretty much narrowed down that I feel are some of the top cards within the game. But let me know down below, of course, as I go through this breakdown, if you agree, disagree with any of the cards, and why, in the comment section down below. But we're going to start, as we always do with these kind of videos, with the neutral theme cards. And the first neutral theme card we're going to talk about is Marcus. So Marcus, in my opinion, is one of the top epic cards within the game right now because of a lot of different reasons. But one of the main ones is his charged ability is very underrated, in my opinion. It throws a drug pillow at enemy leaders, dealing damage, which will increase as you level him up. As you see, I have him at max level 3. With 81 leader damage being done to the enemy leader. At level 4, about midway through level 4, I've heard it can do in the hundreds, like about 103 to 108 damage to the enemy leader, which is really, really nice at doing a good amount of poke damage to an enemy leader. You can usually get 1 or 2 pillows off before he gets if you start him at the back line of behind your new kid. By the time he gets almost to the other enemy new kid, he will have thrown almost 2 pillows, which can be, at this rank, can be over 160 damage, which could be almost half a bar, which it's just very underrated. He has pretty good health and pretty decent damage, not great damage for a fighter card, about in the lower tier as far as damage, but he's going to soak up a decent amount of damage. He's going to have a good charge ability that can be thrown from any distance. That's one of the big keys, is that he doesn't have to be up close. He throws that pillow from as far away as needed to do the damage necessary. I just think Marcus is undervalued. I don't think he's being used a lot more in the legendary arenas and in the silver shield arenas. But if you have the ability to get Marcus leveled up to level 3, do that. He is very valuable to a lot of people. Yes, he's a 4 energy cost, which isn't too bad for most fighter cards, but I mean, I think, and the fact that he's a neutral card means he can be used and utilized in any deck if necessary. You can almost replace him as a spell card. If you need a spell card to do damage to the enemy leader, Marcus might be one of your best bets, because then he can also soak up a good amount of damage and then do a little bit of damage to enemy units coming at you as well. So Marcus definitely needs to be on this list. Another neutral theme card is Dog Poo. Now, Dog Poo is probably a favorite of a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. He hits like a truck as an epic card, especially in the lower tiers of PvP. He's very easy to get early on because I believe you can get him even at level 5 PvP or at highest at 10 PvP. So you can get him fairly early on in the game. And at a lower cost of 3 energy, he hits much harder than Marcus does as far as damage, over double the amount of damage that Marcus does, even at level 3. As you see, my Marcus was at max level 3, where my Dog Poo is about midway through level 3 and does over twice as much damage. Does have about almost half less health than Marcus does, so he's not going to be able to soak up as much damage, but he hits like a truck. But the big issue with Dog Poo is his attack speed is very slow. And in the early parts of the game, that's not quite as bad for you. But once you get into the higher tiers of PvP, that's really going to hurt you, because there might be a lot of times where he's not going to be able to hit very much. But if you could pair Dog Poo with someone with maybe a Hyperdrive, with a Warboy Tweak, or maybe Astronaut Butters at the right situations, he can do a ton of damage very quickly and really help turn the tide for you. So Dog Poo definitely has his place. He's definitely still useful even in higher tiers of PvP, but there are other neutral cards that you could probably focus on before focusing on Dog Poo. But in the early parts of your gameplay experience, get Dog Poo to maybe max level 1, maybe level 2, and then just kind of leave him there. Don't really continue to focus on materials for him, as there's other neutral cards that are probably a little bit more necessary at the higher tiers than Dog Poo is. But in the lower tiers and the mid tiers of PvP, Dog Poo is still pretty effective and still pretty well used. But if you get higher on up, he will be you'll notice him a lot less, but still viable even in the higher tiers of PvP. Next on the list for the adventure theme, as we shift to adventure cards, is Hookhand Clyde. So Hookhand Clyde, also known as Clutch Clyde, I've talked about him in numerous videos, in my Clyde video, in best adventure cards, in 5 up 5 down for adventure cards. Hookhand Clyde has a lot of pros and a lot of cons, primarily because of his Warcry ability, because it randomly hits an enemy for either a crapload of damage. As you can see, mine was 347, currently at 2025 at level 3, or he'll do enemy leader damage of 35 if he doesn't hit an enemy unit. But if he hits an enemy unit with that war cry, that's a ton of damage. That can take out pretty much almost every unit but a tank. You can take out a lot of flying. It can also target flying units as well as ground units, so it's extremely useful. But if it doesn't hit the unit that you want it to and clutch it for you, then he's then kind of a mid-tier kind of fire card after that point. Decent damage, higher damage than Marcus was doing, lower health than both Dogpoo and Marcus had. So again, kind of a mid-tier fighter card, but if you can get that war cry to be clutch for you, it can be really nice. It can also finish off a bar quickly at the end of a match. You can do about the same amount of damage as a lightning bolt would at a cheaper cost. So if you got to really quickly get that win, you can just throw his war cry ability, hit that enemy new kid, and finish off a game. So he definitely has some pros and cons to him, as I've stated many times before with Hokan Clyde, but he's definitely still one of the better epic cards within the game, even if he doesn't clutch it for you all the time. One of the first spells we're going to talk about, and one of the few spells that are epic spells that are probably worth using in this game, is Aerostorm. Aerostorm is still used a lot within this game, but it's going to be hard to get it past level 3. As you can see, I need 22 more cards to get it to level 4. But Aerostorm is really great at wiping out a bunch of lower level assassin units. So if your opponent is just coming at you with a bunch of units that have taken a good amount of damage, maybe some weak fighter cards that are low on health, or a bunch of assassin units, you can wipe almost all of them out with this ability, because it will take up the entire screen. It's not an aura ability or in a certain area of effect. It takes up literally the entire screen. So Aerostorm, if situationally used, can wipe out some pushes or help you in lowering the amount of bombardment that's coming at you. So Aerostorm definitely has its value. It's definitely a good epic card. But once you pretty much get it to level 3, good luck. Beyond that point, it's going to be hard to get these cards. But again, Aerostorm, and another nice thing also about spell cards, again, no materials necessary, just gold to upgrade them. So as hard as it is going to be to get this card, it's still very, very useful, and still definitely one of the better epic cards within the game. Now shifting over to sci-fi theme is Cyborg Kenny. Cyborg Kenny is one of the best epic cards within the game. It's kind of hit and miss as far as popularity right now. He's probably a mid-tier card. Very, very good and very widely used in the silver shields and in the bronze shields, more so than in the legendary shields. He's still used in Legendary Arena, just not as much, because a lot of the big disadvantage with these epic cards is the amount of materials you have to dump into them to level them up. So as you can see, my Cyborg Kenny is almost max level 2, and his Death Wish is one of the big reasons why he's so effective. The ability to heal the person that kills him gets controlled. They also get healed back some of the damage that may or may not be done by Kenny or another unit, and then they become mind controlled for yourself for 10 seconds. That duration does not increase as far as the 10-second duration, and it does not change. The only way to cancel it out is with Purify, which Purify has essentially almost been relatively removed from the game because Mystical Theme is not used as much because of all the debuffs to Power Bind and Purify anyway. So the fact that you pretty much will almost get this ability off, it's almost like a free spell card for his Death Wish. And Cyborg Kenny does do pretty good damage for an assassin card as well, but he has a higher cost of 4 energy, which most assassins are a 2 or a 3. So this is relative, so he's, kind of hit and miss as far as when to use him, and you just have to be very situational. He's definitely going to be better for you probably in the early part of the game or later in the game, when it's going to be most useful for you to get that mind control in your favor. And then of course just trying to be sure that the right card or unit is under the right mind control that you need to help you be the most effective. But Cyborg Kenny definitely needs to be on this list of top epic cards, as he is still extremely useful in all tiers of PvP. My next epic card on this list is Program Stand. Now this one might be one of the more debated cards, but Program Stand still definitely has value in a lot of tiers of PvP, similar to Cyborg Kenny. Not going to be as maybe not be as viable or as widely used in the higher tiers of PvP, but definitely in the mid to lower tiers of PvP, Program Stand will run rampant for you because he's still a solid fighter card at a low cost of 3 energy. He also has a charge ability that will freeze enemy units if used at the right time. Can definitely really help you in you know, kind of in different attacks or different strategies with this card. He has a lot of versatility because of that. Does do a good amount of damage. Okay on health for a fighter card, but he's a lower cost, so you can cast him out more often. And if you always put him behind your enemy new kid and let him get up there, by the time he gets to the midway point, his charge ability will be ready to go, and then you can cast it out. You can use it with something like maybe a Dougie card, where you can then freeze real quick before the Dougie attacks, or freeze to stop a bunch of swarm units and be able to take them out. As you can see, the freeze does do a little bit of damage. It does do 30 damage right now at max level 3. The power duration does, I don't believe, increases beyond 2 seconds, but you do get his attack, health, and his damage from his freeze ability up as you level him up, however, throughout the course of leveling him up. But I still think Program Stand is still viable, even if not as viable in Legendary Arena, but still viable in a lot of the other tiers, so we definitely needed to make this list. My next card now from the mystical theme is Choirboy Butters. So Choirboy Butters is a favorite of a lot of people, but is not one of the better butters within the game. There are 2, maybe 3 butters that are better than Choirboy Butters right now, because Choirboy Butters has the lowest attack speed of all the Butters cards right now. He is an epic rarity, so he's going to be the hardest to level up. He does have 2 energy costs, which is nice, so he's one of the cheapest butters out there, and does a little bit more damage, but not as much survivability as some of the other butters does. And his Death Wish is kind of pointless to almost useless. He gives you a little extra energy. I believe it's about 1/16 of an energy bar every time he dies. So it's not really that useful. The Death Wish is pretty much hit and miss, but the fact that the mystical theme does not have doesn't really have many assassins right now within the game as I'm recording this video, and Choirboy Butters is probably the best one of the 2 that you have between Hermes Kenny and Choirboy Butters. You see Choirboy Butters used much more often than Hermes Kenny. Those are the only 2 assassin cards that they have. At some point, there will be an Ike card that will be added to the mystical theme. But as of right now, again, this is pretty much your best option. There are better assassin cards definitely within this game than Choirboy Butters, but as far as an epic assassin, this is probably, in my opinion, the best one. Some will debate that Hermes Kenny should be probably on this over Choirboy Butters, but you know, this is the choice that I'm going to make here, and this one might be debated as well, similar to Program Stand, but let me know down below again, guys, what you think of this selection. But just because I like Choirboy Butters a little bit better does not mean Hermes Kenny is still not one of the better epic cards within the game. So he also makes the list again as well. He is also an assassin card and within the mystical theme. He has a 3 energy cost, which is about normal for most assassin cards. His Death Wish doubles the energy gained for 2 seconds, which is kind of nice. Not very long stretch of time, so you're not going to get a ton of energy back. But the fact that at least his Death Wish is useful versus Choirboy Butters makes him a little bit stronger of a card in that regard. But overall, I still think Choirboy Butters is better for the lower cost, higher damage, and a little bit better survivability than Hermes Kenny does have. But Hermes Kenny's Death Wish and far beyond is better than Choirboy Butters is. But still, again, like I said, would put Choirboy Butters ahead. Hermes Kenny's still very useful, not as widely used. He's probably a mid to low tier assassin card right now, but pretty much both the mystical assassins are just terrible. And luckily that pretty much every other theme has good assassins to go with the mystical theme if you want to roll mystical theme, to where you can still roll mystical and be kind of okay. But Hermes Kenny definitely would make the list. Last but not least, looking at the fantasy theme, we have Rogue Token. And Rogue Token is one of my favorite cards within the game. I have him currently to max level 3 as well. And he's probably one of the top 2 or 3 strongest epic cards within the game right now. Mostly because of his Warcry ability, dealing damage to nearby enemies in an aura effect. As you see at max level 3, he does 175 damage. I'm hoping to get him to level 4 relatively soon. He does have a 4 energy cost, a little bit decent health, good damage, but it's that Warcry, guys. The fact that it will attack both air and ground units is really nice, and it's a pretty decent power range radius as a 2.5 for my current radius is really nice. It can kill, pigeons, can kill rats, can do a bunch of different stuff, kill a lot of swarm units or a lot of, lower units, maybe assassin cards. At level 4, it will take out level 5 common assassins, which is really, really nice. So Rogue Token, definitely a very strong card, a very good counter card, and then to be used as a semi-decent mid-tier kind of fighter card beyond that point. But his Warcry is one of the strongest war cries within the game right now, and he's widely used. If you're rolling a fantasy deck, you need Rogue Token in it because he's just that nice to have a counter to Swarm, and then to also then have a mid-tier card to then go and do some decent damage and maybe help you out throughout the course of a fight as well. So Rogue Token, without question, one of the best epics within the game right now. And our last card from the fantasy theme and our last epic card within the game of the top 10 list is Cock Magic. And the reason why I chose Cock Magic over some of the other cards, it's another spell card similar to Aerostorm, but it does transform 2 random allies or enemies into angry cocks. And as you level up Cock Magic, it will increase the number of cocks that are done. If you use it at the right time, for a 5 energy cost, you can take out multiple big units and make them into basically lower level cocks that you can easily take out with a couple hits from your enemy new kid. That is a huge advantage to you if you got a couple tank units, or you just got this, you know, swarm, a barrage of enemies coming at you. Probably a great card to counter some mystical themed cards like a Zen Cartman and maybe like an Angel Wendy or Friar Jimmy. If you have it to level 3 and you can take out all those cards to kind of get them off the battlefield, that's a huge, nice advantage for you. Originally, I did say the Transmography was better than Cock Magic in certain situations because it turned just one unit, eliminated one unit from the battle, essentially. But the fact that Cock Magic will take out multiple units, if you do use it when you have some of your own units out there, you do run the risk of transforming some of your own units against you. But if you use it situationally at the right time, it can take out enemy units and put the advantage back in your favor. So Cock Magic definitely one of those cards that definitely needs to be considered in this list. But this is my breakdown of the top 10 epics currently within the game of South Park Phone Destroyer, guys. But let me know down below again of what you think of this breakdown, if you agree, disagree with some of the selections that I made here today, as some of these, again, are going to be up for debate, which is totally fine. I'm well open to your guys' opinions on what you think with these kind of series and kind of breakdowns. Definitely going to keep doing some of the other series that I have here on the channel. But again, let me know down below if there's anything you guys want to see outside of what I have been doing here on the channel going forward. We'll probably do a maybe a top 5 to top 10 epics. I don't know how many legendaries I'll be able to do here, as I don't have all of them. And in all honesty, I don't remember how many legendaries there currently are within the game. I think there are 10. I may not do a top 10, maybe do a top 5 legendaries right now. But let me know down below, again, what you guys want to see. Thank you guys so much for the support here on the channel. And until next time, guys, my name is Drewzy.